July 1949 marked the first visit to Huddersfield of Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth. It formed part of a tour of the West Riding of Yorkshire being made by the Princess and her husband, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. From schools throughout the district, over 8,000 children came into the town centre and were taken down to Huddersfield Town's football ground in Leeds Road in a fleet of special buses. The Princess's route was from Halifax down New North Road, and outside the Royal Infirmary, a party of nurses gathered in good time to see the royal car pass. A little further from town, the pupils of Waverley School were being positioned under their specially erected decorations. In Westgate and along New Street, crowds have been assembling steadily. It was nearly 66 years since the first royal visit to Huddersfield, when the Duke and Duchess of Albany had officially opened Bowen Park with a golden key. It was 29 years before another royal occasion when, shortly before the First World War, King George V and Queen Mary came to the town, a visit they repeated in 1918. That visit was the first such occasion covered by film cameras, the film being subsequently shown in Huddersfield's Empire Cinema. 1949 marked another similar landmark. 6 cameramen from Huddersfield Cine Club, with some of the first colour film to become available after the 1939-45 war, were involved recording the day's proceedings. A silent version was shown to the public later in the year. The excitement soon became too much for some people. Nearly 100 spectators had to be treated by the St John's Ambulance Brigade. Despite a cloudy sky and distant thunder, the crowds had been taking up their positions since before midnight. Some people had made quite a journey to be present. One party had travelled especially from New Brighton on Merseyside. Lining the approaches to the town hall were members of 270 Field Squadron of the Royal Engineers and representatives of the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers and the Women's Royal Army Corps. All local territorial army units were also represented. As midday passed, streets of the procession route were closed. And just before 12:30 p.m, the Chief Constable's car led the Royal Daimler into Huddersfield. In Ramsden Street, outside the town hall, the band of the 578th Heavy Anti-Aircraft Regiment of the Royal Artillery played the national anthem. The Earl of Scarborough presented the Mayor, Alderman David J. Cartwright, to the royal couple. The Mayor then introduced the Mayoress, his daughter Shirley, Town Clerk Mr. Harry Bann, Recorder Mr. H.B. Hilton Foster, Huddersfield's MP Mr. J.P.W. Mallew, and Chief Constable Mr. James Chadwick. Whilst the Mayor told the Princess something of the town's activities, Prince Philip, accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel R.C. Lawrence, inspected the Guard of Honour, drawn from the 5th and 7th Regiments of the Duke of Wellington's. Concluding his inspection, Prince Philip had a special word of congratulations for the Guard Commander, Major J.B. Sugden. Renewed cheers marked the departure into the town hall of the royal party, where they were to take lunch and listen to a short concert by Huddersfield Choral Society. But first they delighted the crowd by appearing on the town hall balcony. Shortly after 2 o'clock, there was a further balcony appearance before the royal couple entered the car for the drive to Leeds Road. Large crowds were still patiently waiting for another chance to cheer the princess and her husband. And outside the football ground, a guard of honour from local youth organisations was assembling. The mayor and mayoress and other officials and personalities had rushed on ahead of the royal car. As the official party arrived, Princess Elizabeth's personal standard was raised. The Princess and Prince Philip were welcomed at the entrance by Alderman Thomas Smales, before taking their seats in the director's box. Out on the football field, the school children were ready with a carefully rehearsed display featuring a pattern of the letters E, P and C. Prince Philip couldn't resist tidying up the drapes on the way down to the car which had been driven onto the running track inside the stadium. As the car started to leave, the children forgot their previous discipline and broke ranks to surround it. The gatemen had to move rather quickly. A little further down the road was the final part of the visit, a quick look at Huddersfield's textile industry at Leroyd & Company's Trafalgar Mills. The party were greeted by Leroyd's chairman, Mr. Ernest Overton, and other directors. Prince Philip was quick to notice that the directors included Major Sugden, Guard Commander a couple of hours previously. Crowds of spectators waited as the Princess and Prince Philip toured the various departments and were presented with lengths of cloth to mark their visit. Then it was time for departure to Cleckheaton and the continuation of their tour. as Princess Elizabeth and her husband ended their first visit to the county borough of Huddersfield.
October the 14th, the town was bedecked with flags and flowers. Traffic was stopped and crowds gathered in St George's Square to welcome Her Majesty the Queen, who was travelling north by train to inaugurate the new Scammerton Reservoir and the Trans-Pennine motorway. Her visit to the town centre was all too short, and she soon had to start her journey to Scammerton. Further up the road were school children brought from local schools by their teachers. Meanwhile, at Scammerton, invited guests had arrived by car and coach to fill the 400 seats in the special stand built for the occasion. Lindley Brass Band played whilst the guests waited for the arrival of the official party. First to arrive was the Mayor of Huddersfield and her party, who had preceded the royal procession. Stepping from the car, Her Majesty was introduced to Mr. Peter Walker, the Minister of the Environment, and to representatives of the contractors and the Huddersfield and West Riding authorities who had combined to build the reservoir and motorway. Her Majesty then unveiled a commemorative plaque.
I have great pleasure in declaring the Scammerton Dam and Reservoir open.
Her time in Yorkshire almost at an end, the Queen said her goodbyes before setting out on the journey to Milnrow, where she was to inaugurate the motorway. At Out Lane, people waited for a last glimpse of the royal visitor as she drove onto the motorway. It was a memorable day for all concerned. The stamp of royal approval had been placed on the reservoir. Everyone said how radiant the Queen had looked and how lucky we'd been with the weather.
We were lucky again with the weather on Thursday, May 24th this year. It's early afternoon and a huge crowd fills St George's Square. They've come to see the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, who are due to arrive later in the afternoon. The royal party arrived in Huddersfield at 12:30 and had lunch at the university. From there the Duke travelled to Primrose Hill to visit the new solar village completed last year. He spent some time chatting with the residents before going on to the display showing details and objectives of the project. Whilst Philip was involved at Primrose Hill, the Queen was visiting the recently completed Friendly Street building, a new addition to the media centre. She was introduced to Lee Corner, chairman of the centre's board of directors, and to Theo Greenstreet, their chief executive. Outside in the courtyard, the apple was tied with ribbon. The Queen was to cut this to symbolically open the new building. As she left, the Queen signed the new visitors' book. Outside in the sunshine, Lee Corner spoke of our ability to make use of the most up-to-date technology, and how honoured they were that she had agreed to open the new building.
If you would be kind enough to come with me to cut the ribbon on the apple, we can declare our building open.
Made from a single oak, the intention is to provide a place for people to get together and share ideas. In St George's Square, the Duke met members of the Huddersfield and District Army Veterans Association. The arrival of the Queen was greeted by a sea of Union Jacks. Only those at the front of the crowd got a chance to see her as she walked round and chatted to people. So many, and particularly young people, saw very little of the event. Things got better when the Queen and the Duke joined the VIPs to hear a half-hour concert by the Choral Society and the Orchestra of Opera North. As the Queen and the Duke left the stage, this was the end of their visit. They'd been given a tremendous welcome by this huge crowd. There's no doubt they're as popular as ever with the people of Huddersfield.